Hi everybody, this is Asper from MyChartCoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at the cannabis sector. So we have the midterm elections tomorrow, and we have multiple states that are going to be voting on cannabis ballots, and you've got Michigan, North Dakota voting for recreational use, and then you have Missouri, Utah, and Ohio are going to be voting as well on cannabis initiatives, and so yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Here's a map of the different types of initiatives and voting that's going to be going on. And so, if there's a clean sweep tomorrow across all these states for cannabis and it does well, then that could be a big bonus for the cannabis sector. It should be positive. You know, that should be the catalyst to keep taking it higher. Now you have to be on the lookout for Sell the News. Also, you have the States Act, and so this is to allow the states to make their own decisions on cannabis for all the different laws without federal intervention. And so if the States Act passed, that's going to be huge as well. And so what we have going on here is the multi-day run leading up to an event. Okay, and so you always have to be careful when that happens. Okay, this is a ticker symbol MJ, the Alternative Harvest ETF, and so yeah, it needs to get above 50 on RSI and 50 above Fasto. If it breaks above 50 above both those indicators, that'll be a signal the chart's heating up. You can see here on ADX, plus DI and ADX are pinched. If that green line crosses over the black line, that'll signal the bulls are starting to take control. As you can see, it's been in this downtrend since middle Bollinger Band support broke back here in October. Now, there's been a nice bounce after a gap fill. If you look back here in August, there was a gap between these two candles. This red candle here filled the gap, and then it got back above the top of the gap, and it's been pushing higher. Now notice there's been 1, 2, 3, 4 gap up opens in a row, and you have 4 white candles in a row on relatively light volume. You know, it's not heavy volume. It's basically under 1 million shares are being traded every day. So it's very light volume on the bounce, and it does have that bear pennant look to it, where you have the bounce and it's coming back up to horizontal resistance, and it closed above these two horizontal resistance levels that looked like it could possibly stall out at. First was this candle here, and then this candle, and it keeps breaking higher. Okay, so it may be busting away from this pennant. We'll see if it can get above 34. That would be pushing it for a pennant. I mean, if it stalls out here and pulls back, then maybe that pennant will form. But the bottom line is it's on a 5-day run right now, and so it's in leading up to a big event, and so it closed today above EMA 13. Now it's above EMAs 4, 8, and 13 on the chart, and so it needs to stay above that level. That's currently at 33.19. So as long as 33 is holding, it should be able to push higher. 34 is going to be the next big level. That was the closing price in the 22nd. If it can get above that level, then look for a run back up to that middle Bollinger Band at 35.22. Now it needs to turn the middle Bollinger Band back into support to get a new uptrend going, and then get back above this 50-day simple moving average at 36.51. Once above both those levels, that's when it can head higher again. That's when it can get a new uptrend. Right now, it's in a downtrend on the daily chart, and this is just a short cover rally. A new uptrend won't begin until that middle Bollinger Band 20-day simple moving average turns into support. I'll show you an example right here on the chart. Look back here in August. The candles were below the dotted purple line in a downtrend, and then they closed above, and that signaled the start of the uptrend. And notice all the candles were above the dotted purple line until the chart started breaking down, and then it double topped here, and then now you have the breakdown back below. Okay, so if the share price drops below EMA 4 at 32.36, if it drops below 32 to make it easy, that's going to be a red flag. That's going to signal the chart's breaking down. You don't want to be long if candles are forming below EMA 4. As long as it's holding, the bounce play is still in progress. Once that breaks, that'll be a red flag. It's back above the 100, 200, and 300-day simple moving averages. That's the blue, red, and gold lines. And so as long as those levels are holding, this is the key level to bounce off, and then it should be able to work its way back up into that 35, 36 range. So tomorrow, to make it very simple after all these lines and making it difficult to read, sorry about that, to make it really simple for ticker symbol MJ, the marijuana cannabis sector ETF, above 33 signals upside potential, below 32 will signal downside risk. Okay, let's look at Canopy Growth. They're the #1 cannabis company in the world. I mean, I'm still sticking with that. They're the Coca-Cola. They're the first. They're the to really take it to the next level. And so it's always good to follow to see what Canopy Growth is doing for the overall health of the sector. And so they had a huge day today, closed up 8%. What you want to see is RSI and Fasto get back above 50. Right now they're bouncing off of the oversold levels. This was oversold. This is bouncing off that 30 zone. And once it gets back above 50, that's when they'll signal the bulls are strong again. Similar to back here, you can see above 50, and that's down here on the chart when it heated up before the really nice uptrend started. And so that's what you're looking for here again. If it's trading below 50, it signals, it's still under pressure. Keep an eye on ADX here. If you get the green line down here at 19, crossing above the red line at 24, that's going to be your signal. Okay, the bulls are pushing again. The last crossover was right here, and that was the last run. So down here, once again, it has that bear pennant type of look, but it looks like it's trying to bust out above it. You have the bounce down here. It came down and filled the gap. There was a gap back here in August between these two candles, and the red candle here filled the gap. Okay, so it filled the gap and it bounced, and now it's on a multi-day run. It's on a 5-day run on light volume. It did have this declining volume pattern, and today was an increase in volume, although the volume was still very, very low. So it's always suspect when the bounce is on extremely low volume. Look at all the big volume, when it was trading, when it was in play, even on the big drop, there was big volume. And so it's been, it hasn't been super light volume like back in July, but it is much lighter volume than the previous spikes and drops. And so what you want to see now, if you're a bull, is a bullish volume spike and a push through resistance. Okay, so it needs to get above this 41, 42 level, and then the big level is the middle Bollinger Band at 43. Once that 43 level turns back into support, this 43, 33 level, then it can get a new uptrend going, and then it'll have to get back above that 50-day simple moving average at 46.85. Now, if it fails to stay above EMA 13 at 39.83, if it drops back below that 40 level, that's going to be a signal that it's cooling down. And then for stop loss level, it needs to stay above 38. You have EMAs at 4 and 8, and the 100-day simple moving average, that's the gold line here. They're all converged in that 38 zone. It needs to stay above 38. If it were to drop below 38, that would signal downside risk. Like I said, you just have to be on the lookout for potentially, sell the news. They have everybody buying leading into the event, and then I'm just saying that could happen. Okay, let's look at ticker symbol ACB here. Now it trades on the big boards, closed up 4% today. Yeah, once again, it has that nice bounce. It came down and it filled the gap. You can see there was a gap between these two candles back here in September. This red candle ended up finishing the gap fill. It came all the way down, bounced off this 400 simple moving average zone. It's back above the 300-day simple moving average at 639. That's good, and it's been pushing higher. Right now, it's hitting the 200-day simple moving average currently at 733. It closed just above that level. It needs to stay above that level. If it were to drop back below the 200-day simple moving average, that could signal a temporary top. Then that could turn into that bear pennant. It looks like it has that bear pennant look. But if it failed to, if it does get above, then what you're looking for is a break above EMA 13 at 756. Once above that level, then we can have the middle Bollinger Band at 860 and the 50-day simple moving average at 829 back on deck. Until those levels turn into support, ACB is still in a downtrend. This is just a short cover rally. What you need is a move like back here on the 20th of August. Notice how it was in a downtrend over here in July. All the candles are below the middle Bollinger Band. They're writing EMAs 4 and 8 resistance lower. And then the change in trend was on the 20th, and that's when the uptrend started. And besides this one day where it pulled below, it held the entire time until the breakdown. Well, now you need that to turn into support again. Otherwise, there's more downside risk. Okay, so you're gonna so the two key levels, to make a long story short, has to stay above 7. You know, if it drops below 7, it fails to hold EMA 4 at 703. That's going to be your signal. Okay, yeah, it's breaking down, and then it has to break above that 730 level, and basically 750. It has to get above EMA 13, that 756 level. So if it's trading at 760 or above, that's going to be bullish. Below $7 is going to signal downside risk. It could come back down to that 300-day simple moving average and test that 639 support zone. Okay, finally, let's look at Cronus Group here. Yeah, so it's been creeping higher as well. Once again, RSI and Fasto need to get back above 50. You know, Fasto's above that oversold level. It came down here, and I did post a chart earlier today talking about the bear pennant, because, you know, it dropped down and then it bounced, and then, you know, it's hitting horizontal resistance here. It's going to be all, you know, it was hitting it first at this level right here, which was from, you know, yesterday it stalled out at, and then today it did close above that level, this close right here on the what is that, the 25th. And then it closed above the closing price on the 25th. Now it has to break the closing price on the 23rd and above the 100-day simple moving average at 851. It closed right, I guess it did close below EMA 13 at 826. So that's going to be the big level to break. So basically, you know, it has to get between the 825 and 850 zone to head higher. If it stalls out in this zone, it could pull back. And so the stop loss level for this setup, of course, it needs to hold above EMA 4 at 794, but you know, another big level is going to be the 200-day simple moving average at 783. Now it's above the red line. See the red line here? It has to stay above that level. If it were to drop below, that would signal downside risk. It could come back down and test that 300-day simple moving average at 646. So yeah, so this has been a really nice multi-day bounce. I'm just a little bit skeptical because the volume is super light, and because they pushed it up for 5 days in a row for most of these leading into the event, and many times when that happens, that sets up a sell the news type of thing. But I'm totally would love more than anything to see the cannabis sector start a new uptrend and get cruising back up to the previous highs. And like I've said in previous videos, December and January are usually the highlights for the cannabis sector. You know, it might still be a little early since the beginning of November. They might try to pull it down one more time before taking it higher. But usually, you know, Thanksgiving time, you know, it starts cooking, and you know, the holidays are usually good for the cannabis sector. We'll have to see if this year follows the historic trend. Okay, if you'd like to learn more about that, please come check out the chat. All right, I'll post the link below the video. Thank you.